fact, I must say, I think it's brilliant news that this piece is back on the grade 5 syllabus where it belongs. It's one of those sort of desert island pieces that everybody's got to play. It's absolutely crucial. It's a gem. Not only does wonderful things for you technically, but it really, really gives you a lot of opportunity to develop an expressive touch, which in the end has got to be the aim of any piece called a study or anything else. There's a couple of pretty obvious features to this piece. It's an arpeggio study. It does the same thing all the way through. That gives you a lot of chance to develop a number of aspects of your right hand within that arpeggio quality. Look though especially at the texture of the piece. It's essentially in 3 parts. You've got the bass that announces the piece right at the beginning. You've got a middle voice sort of spinning away like that. And then you've got an upper voice, a melodic tune voice, like that. Those 3 voices or strands have 3 different levels of importance, and probably the most important thing this piece can do for your right hand is develop the capacity to compartmentalize those 3 different functions in 3 different, not only dynamic intensities, but qualities of touch as well. The bass obviously is a bassy, hopefully fairly direct and clear sound, but a full kind of sound, think like a double bass or a cello. The tune, on the other hand, as sweet and melodic and vocal as you can reasonably get. The middle voice doesn't have to be very distinct at all. Sometimes it's at its most magical when it's not quite inaudible, but certainly quite a long way in the background, so that you almost have to kind of listen into the piece to hear what's going on there. I used the expression spinning to describe that earlier on. There is a bit of a genre with some, especially I think probably 19th century composers, of giving the impression of what's a spinning wheel, where you have a wheel that spins the thread and it makes a characteristic kind of clickety sound. And I don't suppose for a moment Carcassi was thinking of that as such in this piece, but there is something about that quality of keeping on going and a clickety feel to it that always reminds me of a spinning wheel when I play this piece. Coming back to the top voice for a moment, you'll notice it does that thing of having a hairpin above the stave. Normal dynamics and dynamic markings are going to be underneath the stave, but in this piece and in number 16 as well, you'll notice that there are hairpins above the stave, and it's the thing of saying, in this case, the note on the second beat, the F sharp, is stronger harmonically, it sticks out, and then the note on the third beat, the E, is the weaker note where the F sharp resolves onto. You get exactly the same thing in the second bar. Really, you could do the same thing in the third bar as well. I think probably it was left off by whoever originally engraved this, or it might have even been left off by Carcassi, perhaps because it's so obvious you keep on doing the same kind of thing. There are a few places in this piece where that quality of the second beat being the harmonically stronger resolving onto the third beat, there are a few places where that doesn't happen, frankly. And also worth stressing that as well as being a stronger than a weaker effect, it's a legato effect. The second beat has to fall onto the third beat as legato as you can make it. It's not actually a slur in our terms, but it's as though the note was slurring onto it, literally just falling onto it as legato as you can. Other things to look out for in this piece then. You'll notice in the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th bar and a few others, this marking RF. Later on you get SF, and it's essentially the same thing. It's a sort of accented reinforcement. So those notes stick out markedly, and you'll notice that in each case what's happening is the same thing. You've had for some few bars the same bass note has been sounded. In the first case it's the A, and it becomes the A sharp going to the B. In the next case you've had the E's going on like that. This is the first bit after the repeat, and then you get the E sharp going to the F, and in the last case on the last line you get the D sharp and E. So there are three instances of the same thing. One of the things you have to do as the interpreter is decide which of those three instances is the most important. It should be really obvious, but I'll leave it up to you to work it out. There's a pretty queer bar in this piece. It's the one after you've done the big hard work job of the bar chord here. What do you do with those 4 notes? That's the only part of the piece that's not in triplets. Basically play them in time, but acknowledging their uniqueness in the piece. So don't just play them exactly in time and then keep going. Give them a sort of quality of reflection that then carries on back into the modified repeat that you get when you play the same as the beginning, but with the bass note staying the same as the pedal. I think the most important thing with this piece in the end, once you've actually sorted out all the technical features that it offers, is to try and create the most magical atmosphere that you possibly can. This really is a piece where people can get quite attached to it. They can really feel that this is a tremendous work of art, because it is. Don't be fooled by the fact that it's in a book of studies. Some of the studies in Opus 60 are fairly mechanical. This one is an absolute exception. It's a total work of art. Live up to it.